Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Beijing. Good noon, Rome. Welcome to the 6th AIEE SYMPOSIUM of current and future challenges of energy security. My name is Lu Tao Zhao. I am from Beijing Institute of Technology, China. I'm very pleased to be the chair of number 20 specific session. The theme of the session is energy and carbon market. As we know, energy security includes of not only energy, but also environmental security. The climate change are global issues. The carbon market is one of the most efficient way to reduce carbon emissions and has a strong relationship with the energy market. So we hold on the specific session of energy and the carbon market to analyze the role between the two markets and the study of law of energy development and carbon emission reduction. There are 4 outstanding young scholars. They are Mr. Zhao Rong Huang. He comes from Shenzhen University, China. And the third one is Ms. Yuzhu Wang. She comes from North China Electric Power University of China. And the third one is Zijie Wang. He comes from Peking University. And the last one is Hui Hu. He comes from University of Science and Technology, Beijing. So let's welcome Mr. Huang bring us his speech entitled HP Filter Based on Hybrid ARIMA SLFNS Model for Carbon Price Forecasting. Welcome.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's begin.
Yes.
Hello. Hello. My name is Hong Zhaorong. I'm from the College of Management of Shenzhen University, majoring in the Management Science and Energy. This time I will report my article, which just submit to the Applied Soft Computing and is currently under revision. So if you have some suggestions or recommendation, just come down and discuss with me. Let's talk about the research background. The carbon market has a great potential. In 2019, the global pricing revenue grows into $45 billion. However, apart from the heady commercial opportunities, the carbon supply demand balance is very ugly because it has its own risks of the market operation and the mechanism design and policy expectation, as well as crises from the economic and energy path. I recommend everyone can read these studies for details. So we know the trading market is less mature. Not only our individual investors are afraid, but also the enterprises and the sectors from the government are afraid of these market fluctuations because they need to adapt to the carbon emission control and the energy structure adjustment, which entails the stability of the carbon markets. So this really needs for a reliable carbon forecasting system in furtherance the pollution emission efficiency. Next, I will introduce my contents in several parts. Firstly, I will review the lecture about the price forecasting and show some motivates and contributions of this model. This is the main part of my speech because I didn't have much time to show these things. Then I will introduce the hybrid model forms and the model of this paper. After all, I will briefly show some empirical results and the hypothesis test from the multi-level perspective. At last, I will draw some outlooks and the conclusions. The sensitivity of carbon price to the emission trading mechanism poses an enormous forecasting challenge to the carbon time series models. Previous efforts on the carbon price forecasting can be summarized as the basic or called the decomposition models or the multi-scale decomposition models. The former one is further divided into three categories. It is artificial intelligence AIs and econometrics and combination hybrid models, which later one has developed some varieties, like the article published by Professor Zhu in 2018. And in this time, I would mainly talk about the combination modeling method, and I will try to find some shortcomings of these modeling methods above. Economic methods are susceptible to the
Ma
pre-assumed
mandando la
linear form
presentazione?
like Arima and Gauch. Even through
Ma lei
some
adesso è connessa in sessione?
auxiliary and monitoring procedures
Ma
of the
dici
structure
che dopo
change are
presentare,
introduced,
chiedili se
like
aveva un file con lei, di
like the
mandarcelo
drum diffusion
urgentemente.
motion
Come si chiama questa?
and regime switching behavior. It appears that modeling of carbon price with high instability and
Ecco la
complexity is
presentazione.
of little avail, as they reported.
Ok.
The second category is referring to
Aspetta,
AI
glielo fai
models
tu.
are like this, like the AFIS, like RSTM. I won't read it one by one. They attract the nonlinear behavior of the carbon spot and future price more closely. So they tend to overfit the local details in the training fragility. So it's easy to come up with the combination hybrid models against the disturbance and uncertainties of the carbon price. We got the combination hybrid models. Just two people talk about this kind of modeling in the carbon price model. Jing built up a series model where ARIMA and the CNRSTM are used to capture the inner picture and the long-term dependencies in the residues. And the result revealed that the ARIMA CNN STM model has a better ability than the separated model, and Zhu and Wade put forward three combining modes of the ARIMA and SVM, among which the the second type, as the parallel series hybrid model, has a better prediction ability. So what's the basis of these combination hybrid algorithms? Some scholars profess that the long-term and seasonal variation of the data could be removed by some linear models, particularly the ARIMA model, before the subtract data was presented to a nonlinear data-driven model. But we got some examples saying that even the order of the combination equation was altered, a reverse and ARIMA construction was an appropriate alternative for the time series forecasting as well. So we found ARIMA also has a strong nonlinear learning ability. I think in a nonlinear environment, the underlying layer process of data generation will be elusive and confused, which hampers the efficiency of the combination model. On the whole, the basic models far exceed their ability to solve the time varying and the intricate structures mixed in the time series. And the second one is the multi-scale decomposition model. It can address this issue of the mixed structures to a certain degree through the intricate mode functions we call the AIMFs, symbolizing the internal laws and essential characteristics inside the carbon price. Thus far, the counterpart the composition example framework has very popular within the scope of the price forecasting. In furtherance, our response to the fluctuations of the real world, some restructuring rules like the complexity and entropy were invited to discriminate which carbon subscribed with similar complex nature can be merged into the short-term, medium-term, and long-term component respectively. Surprisingly, this algorithm make the structured forecast almost equal and the prediction accuracy of the initial one, if not higher. Even under the condition, it undermines the efforts of the better decomposition algorithm to choose with the pattern aliasing problem. Another proof is the noise reduction algorithms. In this picture, it is MSVD. It also raised about doubts about the necessity of the multi-scale components in their most practice, like this picture. The detailed components have been discarded, and the one approximation components seem enough to analyze the relation in the carbon prices as a result of removal some noisy points, which intimates that not as many regular carbon price sub-series are needed for the prediction as the multi-resolution assumption holds. Next, I want to introduce how to deal with this challenge. Before displaying our models, I will say some the recent academic difficulty. It is lying a reasonable balance between the increase of the technical modes and the decrease of the complexity of the system, and it has the mentioned a bit adaptable problem between the select model and the post treated data. So the basic model, we think they might bond tightly in their linear and nonlinear patterns precondition of the carbon price data, and the decomposition example model may synthesize the false trend and increase the burden in computing and accumulate the errors scattered in each component. So I will first I will show some traditional model construction in this paper as the benchmark models. The first one is the structure of the traditional parallelized series model. Here A and B is the layer lag orders of the real data and the errors respectively, and F is symbolized nonlinear restriction function rooted the type of what we select. And the second one is the related proposed is called the moving average MA filter based hybrid framework. Unlike the parallelized series hybrid framework mentioned above, the nonlinear component LT is separated by the filter other than the RIMA. Taking the MA filter as the example, the filter sequence is like this. Here, the smoothing 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 the parameter m is continuously increases until the sequence passes the ADF test, showing there is no predictable unit rules process. But I should know that the different stationary process is allowable. So the filter data can be the integration 1 or integration 2. The third one is the elation-based hybrid model. The carbon price is composed into the several IMFs, and the stationarity test like ADF test classify the IMFs into the linear and the nonlinear categories. Then the stationary components and non-stationary components are modeled and forecasted by the ARIMA and the SLFNS respectively. Here the SLNF FN is the single hidden layer feedboard neural networks in our paper. So let's talk about our proposed filter-based paradigm. Under this paradigm, Hodge-Prescott filter detrending technique and parallel series hybrid structure is assembled organically. So why we choose the HP filter? There are 4 reasons. First, HP filter deal with the edge distortion problem of the MA filter in condition of the information loss in missing boundary points. Secondly, edge filter is very simple in its implementation, and it is very robust in its parameter construct with the DWT and SSA. The third is HP filter can make up the model aliasing incurred by the EMD and EMD due to its directness of the trend division. Last but not the least, HP filter shows remarkable the calculating consistency with the ARIMA model process, which lends itself to preferable providing a predictive linear platform. Here is my the final flow chart. So on top of the hybrid prototype, the improvements in this paper are also made in following 3 aspects: component predictor, parameter estimation, and error erection. For one thing, ARIMA with a T distribution is used to couple with a possible non-normality of the carbon price linear components determined
Composition and integration. Deposition.
Yeah, and for another kernel extreme learning machine serve as the nonlinear integrator to provide a feasible guarantee to the prediction without knowing which the neural network structure to choose. And in the meantime, the other 6 single hidden single SLFN also take part in the competition for the nonlinear properties and fault tolerance. Secondary, the theoretical and well-founded Bayesian optimization coordinates each model which can management to deal with a complex network structure and kernel learning problems, especially the non-continuous and the non-convex mixed integer one. Thirdly, the hybrid model usually use the original residual sequence for the error correction without data analysis of the characteristic with various frequency scales hidden in it. We advocate that the supplementary multi-scale method like EMD can be widely mingled into the error erection stage of the filter-based model as a special case of the secondary composition framework. We named it residual deposition scheme. Accordingly, the EMD family is incorporated to extract the lantern characters to avoid the bad predicted as a sequence of the incorporate the smoothing construct. Is I over time? Teacher?
Thank you, Ms. Huang.
Thank you.
Very good work. Good work.
Okay.
And the next presenter is Ms. Wang. Please. Her speech is about analysis on the current situation of China's power system reform. Welcome. Please open your mic.
Hello everyone, my name is Yuzhu Wang. I'm from North China Electric Power University. I'm very pleased to be here to join this conference. The topic of my presentation is analysis on the current situation of China's power system reform. My presentation will include these 4 parts. First, the background of China's power system reform. Second, the current situation of power market reform in China. Third, current situation of power price. And the last, some suggestions for power price in China. The goal of carbon peak and carbon neutrality puts forward new requirements for power system reform. There are 3 new changes in China's power system. Change 1 was the market construction requirements. Under the goal of carbon neutrality, the construction goal of China's power market is changing from promoting the optimal allocation of energy resource to ensuring the security of power supply and promoting the transformation of clean and low carbon energy. Change 2, more diverse and complex market forms. In terms of power market construction, enrich medium and long-term market transaction varieties, accelerate the construction of power spot market, strengthen the construction of auxiliary service market, and explore the establishment of market-oriented capacity compensation mechanism. By comprehensively promoting the construction of power market, the security and the stability value of the energy system can be reflected, and the electric energy value and the capacity value can be reflected, which are used to guarantee sufficient power generation investment. In other power market construction mechanism, through the coordination mechanism between electricity and the carbon market, promote industrial development and reduce carbon emissions. This picture shows the operation process of carbon emission trading market. In order to promote the consumption of new energy through the green power trading market, the environmental value of low carbon electricity is reflected, which can facilitate the transition towards a clean and low carbon energy system. The picture on the right is a bonded green power trading framework. and the other one is the non-bounded green card trading framework. Changes 3, more detailed electricity price formation mechanism. In the framework of opening both ends and controlling the middle, the electricity price formation mechanism has been more refined and improved. In terms of on-grid electricity price, as shown in this table, different power generation types have different electricity price formation mechanism. For example, all coal-fired power generation will enter the market, and the on-grid price will be formed within the range of benchmark price plus fluctuation through market transition. Wind power and photovoltaic power generation have achieved it at an equal price, and the on-grid electricity price is formed according to the benchmark price of coal-fired power generation or market transaction. The transmission and distribution price is classified according to provincial power grid, regional power grid, and trans-provincial and trans-regional power grid. And a more detailed price mechanism is formed. The sales price consists of power purchase cost, transmission and distribution loss, transmission and distribution price, and governmental funds, which is divided into residential electricity price, agricultural production electricity price, industrial and commercial electricity price, and other electricity price. The step price policy is implemented for household electricity, and all localities should give priority to using low-cost power supply to ensure residents and agriculture production. Cancel the catalog sales price of industrial and commerce, and promote all industrials and commerce to enter the power market. In terms of demand-side electricity price policy, we have improved the interruptible price and high reliability price to improve energy efficiency, improve the time of use price policy to optimize the allocation to energy supply and demand resource. Now we come to the last part, suggestions. First, on the one hand, it is necessary to regularly evaluate and adjust the catalog time of use price. On the other hand, it is necessary to accelerate the construction of competitive power market, better reflect the time sharing value of electric energy, give better play to the role of power demand side, and improve the efficiency of resource allocation in the local transformation of energy. Secondly, improve flexibility and security. The characteristic of renewable energy resource, such as the revising with a typical load profile, intermittent and fluctuating generation, makes it difficult to support the balance between supply and demand with increasing proportion of renewable energy. The supply shortage and the issue of difficulty in renewable energy consumption will alternate frequently depending on whether renewable units are working or not. Therefore, it is necessary to utilize the potential flexibility in the system through appropriate market mechanism to ensure the balance in the power system. Third, reflect the externalities, improve renewable energy co-trading, explore green power trading, establish the price linkage mechanism between electricity and the carry market, promote the formation of market-oriented green energy consumption and circulation system, and facilitate the transition to clean and low carbon energy. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wang. Thank you for your excellent speech. We will remain 10 minutes for Q&A after the full lecture. Everyone can leave questions on the chat. And the next presenter is Mr. Wang. His speech entitled as the impact of the global stock and energy market on carbon market, a perspective from UETS. So welcome, Mr. Wang. Hello, Zijie Wang, could you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, I moved to another place just for time, and now it's my presentation.
Yes, please
Okay,
please share your slide.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Zijie Wang. I'm from Peking University at HSBC Business School, and I'm in Shenzhen now. And my presentation topic is the impact of the global stock and energy markets on carbon markets, perspective from EU ETS. And firstly, is the background. As everyone knows, the carbon emission actually has a movement. And we find that since 2017, the increase in carbon emissions has a trend of spreading throughout the world. And the main areas of increased carbon emissions were in the western region of Africa. And we find that in 2018, the regions with concentrated increase in carbon emissions were found in Asia. You can see a significant change between these two graphs. And we find that for the European carbon emissions are relatively stable during these 2 years. And what about this phenomenon? And let me talk about the carbon market's history. In 2005, the EU emission trading system was officially established, and it is the largest carbon emission trading system to date, and inspires some countries such as the United States, Australia, and other developing countries to improve their carbon emission trading markets. And in 2015, the signing of the Paris Agreement in a new opportunity for the establishment of the global carbon market. So it is necessary to study, as you can see, the carbon price system is very important. So it is necessary to study a reasonable and effective carbon emission market mechanism is very important. And we find that carbon price is actually driven by many factors, such as macro factors, the energy factors, and some other factors. We firstly divided into factors into macroeconomic factors and energy factors. As for the variables, we find that some variables may relate to these markets, such as the bond market, the stock markets, the commodity markets, oil market, and so on. So our research focus on how to get the quantitative relationship between different markets and carbon markets, because you can see many factors may influence the carbon price. So how to build a quantitative relationship between different markets is very important. And what about how can we get to this goal? We find that most research focus on more than 10 variables, and some fields may be difficult to measure because there are many dimensions. And some others point that the career search is very difficult because there are some unmeasured variables or there are some mixed types of variables. And for the career search, it is actually a kind of variable selection. I mean, if you select the variables related to the variables you want to do the research, and it is actually a variable selection if you want to do career search. As we can see, there are many methods of variable selections, and variable selections is a technique to select all variables related to our research problems, such as the carbon price. And we find that there are some traditional algorithms like the average economic regression, test, or use some index like AIC and BIC to do the evaluation. But we find that the methods may be criticized because they don't provide a sufficient description of the path leading to the final model setting. And there are some innovative approach, such as the stepwise regression. Stepwise regression is a normal method to select the variables. It has some pros and cons. For the pros, the stepwise has achieved some good results to solve the variable selections. And as for its cons, there are some disputes about these directions because we have backwards stepwise and forward stepwise. How to choose the direction is very difficult. And there are also another innovative approach such as Lasso. Lasso has also some pros. Lasso can select variables and estimate the parameters at the same time. And some others point that it is usually better than the result of stepwise. But for the Lasso, it's unable to involve some priority design. It means if you want to add some design based on your knowledge, for the Lasso, you can't add some priority design into this model. So under this situation, some methods has come into our eyes. The artificial intelligence is to let the machine learn people's ways of thinking and behavior and help people extend their learning and learning. It means that we can involve some historical knowledge into our models. And the probability graphic model is this kind of models. It has two kinds of models, the Bayes network and the markov random fields. For the Bayes network, it is actually a directed graphic career models, and it is from the perspective of graph theory, and to build the network between different variables to help us to find the career relationship between different variables. And there are other methods such as the Markov random field, and it is undirected graphic career models. Our research mainly focuses on the probability graphic model because we want to know some quantitative relationship and some direction results between different variables. For the probability graphic model, it has some characteristics that the general machine learning algorithm doesn't have, such as it allows the integration of prior knowledge into the model, just as I have said, and it is suitable for some knowledge discovery. And for the probability graphic model, it has been applied in many fields, such as the reliability analysis, the medical diagnosis, and so on. For the historical of the introduction of PGM, it first introduced by Pierre, and it comes into two kinds of the algorithms: the constraint-based structured learning and the scope-based structured learning. And it now also comes into some like the hybrid structured learning methods. Let me introduce an example of probability graphic model as an example. We find that there are some independent relationships in Bayes network, such as the grade and the top grade are independent based on your IQ and other some relationships. So if you want to calculate the probability of the course, it's difficult. The student has high IQ and he also has good test scores, high TOEFL scores, and get high quality recommendation letters. We can we can get the 15 parameters to calculate it, and we can use the independent relationship between these variables to get the quantity relationship between these variables. This is an easy example of probability graphic model. So how to apply our probability graphic model to the research of different markets? This is our research focus. Next, I will introduce my research methodology, and this is my research framework. Firstly, we use space network and involve some period design. We apply two kinds of algorithms, the structured learning and parameter learning, to get the variable selection. These variables may relate to the carbon market price. And next, we put these variables into structural equation model and do some such as the factor structure and factor scores to calculate the quantity relationship between different markets, and we get the multi-market model. This is our research framework. As for the learning algorithm, I will briefly introduce it to you. There are two types of learning: structural learning and the parameter learning. The structural learning is to it has two steps. The firstly is to search for the best structure for the different variables, and the next is to optimize the parameter. And for the parameter learning, it means that if the network structure between variables affecting the carbon market is recorded, then the probability distribution between variables of each market is recorded is the parameter. And our goal is to maximize the value of the likelihood function to get the best parameter. To get our parameter value, you can use like the maximum likelihood parameter estimation and so on. And for the structural equation model, you are very familiar with it. It is assumed that the energy market can be determined by three variables. I give an example, and the energy market affect carbon market. Why? Because the energy market and the carbon market, you can't touch it, and it is hard to measure. So we use structural equation model to measure the relationship between different markets. Then we can get the measurement model, and it can be expressed as this following. Now I will introduce our empirical analysis. Firstly, the data. The data involves the macroeconomic factors and
Hello, hello, Zijie. Hello, Zijie. We lost you. I will call you. I will call Zijie. Everybody, please wait a moment. Sorry, everyone. Mr. Wang has have a not good network, so he changed a place, and he will come back soon. Please wait a moment. Thank you. Hello, Zijie. Hello. And we will okay. We leave Zijie have more time, and the next speech we will going on. Please, the next presenter, Hu Hui, his speech entitled as analysis of hello Zijie, could you continue your speech?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear.
Shall I continue my presentation?
Yeah. Please.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, it's sorry for the network.
It's not a meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Please go on.
Okay. Nextly, I will introduce my empirical analysis. Firstly, it's the data. As I have mentioned before, the data can be divided into the macroeconomic factors and the energy factors. And we use the logarithm yield of EUA price data and the CER, the certificated emission reduction price, is our research object. And we do some data processing, such as the unit root test and the stabilization to like the eliminate the influence of the basic unit, because as you know, different variables has the different unit. So we need to do this standardization and some data pre-processing. After do this pre-processing, we can get the correlation of the variables. I draw a hot map of the relationship between different variables. As you can see, it can be inferred that the index that mainly affects the log price of the UA should come from the energy market and stocking market. Is I have pointed this, and but the specific quantitative relationship and the color direction are unknown. Next, I will use the Bayes network and to get the relationship between these variables, and our variables affecting the UA are meaning from the. As you can see, this is our result of the Bayes network, and we find that the variables affecting the price of UA are meaning from the Brent crude oil, the yield of natural gas, and the yield of the C40 index. At the same time, the yield of the cleaner energy index and the SP 5000 has a positive impact on the price yield of Brent crude oil, and the yield of SP 500 will have a positive impact on the C40, and the Brent crude oil will have a positive impact on the yield of the natural gas. Next, we have the quantitative relationship between these variables. As you can see, the variables numbers are very large, and we got the quantitative relationship between these variables. So we will focus on the impact of the following indicators on the yield of UA. We find the four indicators: the clean energy index, the SP 500, the CAC40, the Brent crude oil, and the natural gas. In order to verify if our results are solid, we use the one-step forecasting and compile our exam between with other exam like the ARIMA, the SVR, KRR, and the LASSO. And we find that our results has a best result. So the next step is to analyze the relationship between the energy market, stock market, and the EUA carbon futures based on the variables that we have selected affect the yield of EUA. As you can see, our model has best results. So in order to get the interaction effect between different markets, we look up for some literature and do some economic assumption. The first assumption is that the energy market will have a positive impact on the financial market. And the next hypothesis is that the energy market will have a positive impact on the carbon market through the financial marketing intermediaries. As you can see, we have drawn a market transmission mechanism. If the energy price goes up, it may lead to the decrease of the energy demand and the increase of the inflation. And because of the substituting effect, the asset demand, such as stock market, or the other asset demand may arise. And it can stimulate the economic and lead to the increase of the carbon price. So we construct the structural equation model to verify our assumptions. We find that both our economic assumptions are true, and the energy market will positively affect the stock market and affect the carbon futures market through the stock market mechanism. And we find that the clean energy index is the most relevant to the energy market. The past coefficient is 1.15. So finally, how do we get the suggestion based on our results? The first suggestion is that the government can combine certain energy saving targets and the energy efficiency policies and raise the energy trading threshold or the price of energy commodities to reduce the consumption of some traditional fossil energy. Because we find that the past coefficient of the energy market is 1.54, and through the transmission effect, the demand for stock assets is stimulated, and the economic state enters the upward period, which may effectively stimulate the economic development and drives the rise of carbon demand. But we can see that the correlation coefficient of the stock market to the carbon market is 0.25. It is not too large. And it can raise the price raising the price will cause certain upward pressure on the carbon market, and the impact will not be severe. As for the next suggestion is to increase the investment in clean energy.
We lost Zijie Wang. And, could you hear me? I just call Mr. Wang. His network is lost. And please wait a moment. He will come back soon. Hello. Hello. And okay, Mr. Wang is good in economy and finance. His work has published on Journal of Cleaner Production. Are you back? Okay. Please, Hu Hui, share your PowerPoint. Hu Hui's welcome. Hu Hui bring us his speech. His speech entitled as Analysis of Key Factors Influencing Carbon Market from the Time Varying Perspective, Evidence with a Markov Switch VR Approach. Please welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Hu Hui from University of Science and Technology, Beijing. Now, I will begin my report named Analysis of Key Factors Influencing Carbon Market from the Time Varying Perspective, Evidence with a Markov Switching Vector Regression approach. I will start with the following 4 parts. The first is the introduction. Environmental issues have been a hot topic at the present always. People have gradually neglected the importance of environmental protection and taken some measures to protect the environment, such as the adoption of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the signing of the Tokyo Picture and the Paris Agreement, calling on all countries to protect the environment. As shown in the picture on the right, the world carbon emissions are still increasing while the European remains stable, which is mainly due to the establishment of European Union carbon emissions trading system. The establishment of carbon markets is considered to be an efficient measure for carbon emission reduction. There are many influencing factors on the carbon market in terms of energy factors. Because of aggregate demand effort, substitution effort, and production restraint effort, carbon market and energy market are closely linked. Fluctuation in energy price that further affect the change in carbon price. When the flow for power generation is changed, the carbon price will floated. The high energy price leads to the delay of production and the energy consumption that lead to the delay of carbon price. In terms of financial factors, macroeconomic factors affect the carbon market through the industrial production pace and the indirect energy price. The changes to economical growth is expression caused by macroeconomic factors can lead to a positive shock in expectation of carbon demands. Macroeconomic effects lead to energy price fluctuations, which can indirectly affect carbon price thresholds. There are many influential factors in the energy market and the financial markets. Which factors are the key demands? What are the time-varying characteristics of different factors, and how do they affect the carbon market in different periods? I will study it by following methods. This is my research framework. Firstly, I use a lasso model to select variables and jungle which factors are the key demands. Then I use the Markov solution vector autonomous model to study the interactions between carbon markets and other markets. The next part is my empirical analysis. This is my data source. I cloned relevant factors that affecting carbon market and in the right table, and took European Union emission as main research object. In the variable selections part, I use lasso model with sliding windows to select key factors. From the left picture, we can see that the number of variables selected by the model have some different in different products. From the right picture, we can see the difference of selected variable in more detail. The relevant variables of exchange rate market and bond market are often selected in early stage, and the variables of stock markets are selected many times in later stage. The variables of energy markets run through the whole period. We take the top five variables: gas, Brent, coal, S&P 500, and the DAX as the key demands. The parameters estimated by Markov solution vector autonomous model as shown in the left table. Those two regiments observably lead to different estimates of volatility through standard error. The estimated coefficient in the low frequency product is more significant, and the estimated coefficient is not significant in the high flotation state, which may be due to the small amount of data in the high flotation state. Lower volatility state and the high volatility state tends to list for an average of 8 and 2 days, respectively, accounting for 78% 46% and 21%, 54% of the symbols. From the lecture picture, left picture, this findings shows that low volatility data had a higher continuous probability and therefore has strong stability. We use cumulative implicit response to analyze the interaction. As can be seen from the picture in the energy markets, the impact of oil market on carbon market is stronger than that of natural gas market and coal markets. Under the conditions of low volatility, we need to pay attention to positive response of European Union to the impact of energy factors. In the high fractions stage, we can notice that the impact of economical factors is strong. The response of European Union emission to S&P 500 index shock is stronger than the impact of energy market factors. In addition, the response time of European Union emission to various factors is relatively short, only 3 to 5 days. In addition, it should be noted that energy consumption accounts for 93% of the total greenhouse gas emissions, of which power generation and heating accounted for 44%. There are great differences in power generation, energy consumption between the world and the European Union. The world's largest power generation energy consumption is coal, while the European Union consumes more clean energy. The proportion of clean energy power generation in European Union is previously high. Countries need to learn from the European Union, adjust the energy stock and use cleaner energy for power generation. We can draw the following conclusions. Energy factors are the long-term influencing factors of carbon market inflation, while economical factors have only a short-term impact on carbon market. Moreover, there are over time varying characteristics and matter historicity in the state of low volatility. We need to pay attention to positive response of Euro Union emissions to shocks from energy factors. In the state of high volatility, we can note that the shocks from macroeconomic factors was significant. The government should start with the supply of carbon emission allowance and reduce the discretionary carbon emission at once. Enterprise need to pay attention to relevant European Union politics and make adjustments in advance to avoid the risks caused by running carbon price. Countries around the world should properly adjust the energy cycle and transfer to renewable energy to achieve low carbon emission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hu. Thank you for your work. We have 4 different contents around energy and the carbon market. Everyone did very excellent work. And then we have some time to talk about the topic. Is there any question? Hi, Zijie. Could you hear me? I didn't hear your voice. I did. Okay. No. I couldn't hear you. There is no. Your microphone. It's not work. Everybody, is there some question?
Maybe you can type your question.
Okay. Mr. Huang?
I
Would
think
you-
the work
Do you
of
think the
Hu Wei
carbon price?
and the Zijie's work has some similarity, and they seem gives different hypothesis to the economic and energy price to the carbon price. And Zijie Wang think the economic influence maybe maybe more important, and think I think Hu Hui may think the energy and energy market may be more important, but I think it will maybe it is the choice of the what phase we started.
What's your question for?
I want to know is the work of
Zijie is find a good place to get the network.
yes,
Please,
I want
please, Wang.
the work of two classmates is their period is the same.
I beg your pardon?
I wonder is their period choose this time varying factor is the same in their work. It seems they have found some different conclusions. Yes.
Yes. In this paper, he used a lot of market the factor to compare and draw a different conclusion. Have I respond to your question? Open your
I wonder.
Michael.
I wonder. Is their job is the daily price, or month price, or other?
Yeah. He used monthly data.
Oh, month data.
Yes. Hi, Zijie. You can text on the chat. We just lost Zijie. Do you have any questions?
Hello.
Miss Wang?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Welcome back.
Yes, I am back. It is so difficult because it is difficult to find a good networking environment. Would
you like to share the last page of your slide?
Okay. Sorry for my network, and I share my last slides for you. Can you hear me? Can you see my slides? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Next, I will introduce our final suggestion. My suggestion is that the countries around the world should consider the appropriate adjustment of the energy structure to reduce for the energy consumptions, because we find that the total global carbon dioxide emissions are higher than 2017. And in terms of the growth rate, we find that some fields are largest, and the growth rate of the South America and Europe is negative. As I have mentioned before, maybe for the Europeans, they have some better carbon emission system, and we find that South America and the European account for the largest proportion of clean energy, while fossil energy in electricity generation
Okay, we also lost Zijie. And is there any question? Miss Wang, Yuzhu, hi. I wonder what's your opinion of the electric market in China and in the world, all in the world?
I think the carbon market of China is beginning. I think we should learn experience from China. What they are advanced.
Okay, thank you. Is there any question, everybody? We will have the communication outline, and our at the last, I will give some conclusion of our special session. Many thanks for our assistant. Without her help, we could not hold on the net meeting. Thank you so much. And I also thanks to AIEE. So we have the chance to talk each other on the night. And I will thanks to 4 outstanding researchers. Thank you for your excellent presentation. Many thanks for our audience. Our session is finished. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day, Roma. And good night, Beijing. Thank you. See you.
See you.